12 days to election 2020. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News.
Wearing masks can save lives.
COVID-19 still exists. Remember to always wear your mask. The bulletin is coming to you live from Joy 99.7 FM. Here in Kokomlimle, it's a digital address GA0993341. Also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. Affiliates across the country, including Jubilee Radio in Keta, Bishara Radio in Tamale, and A1 Radio in Bogatanga. We are around the world at myjoyonline.com. In this edition, economists question government's expenditure as Ghana adds nearly 11 billion Ghana cedis to its debt stock in 4 months.
The interest should be how these monies were disbursed. To whom were they disbursed? Are they going to be invested to ensure that we grow the economy?
We'll hear from these economists as Joy News brings you an analysis of what these monies were spent on. Former Chief of Staff in Rawlings' administration, Anata Dazi, raises red flags about non-functional office of Ghana's Administrator General less than 2 weeks to election 2020.
1 month before election, all the MDAs, they had to submit their handing over notes. Have we done that? As we sit here, to the best of my knowledge, we don't have an Administrator General.
We have details as we find out whether handing over notes have already been submitted as stipulated in the Presidential Transitions Act on the campaign trail today. Dancehall reggae artist Samini joins President Akufo-Addo's campaign team as he unveiled a statue of the first MP for Ablekuma West constituency, Teresa Amele Tego. Meanwhile, the NDC's John Mahama ends his tour of the Upper East region with an overnight campaign.
It's taking his time to deliver the message and the focus on providing job opportunities for the young people.
I'm very, very happy because this is our leader who is coming to lead us in the victory.
Also in sports,
we'll hear from Accra Hearts of Oak winger Patrick Razak after Phobians' thrilling season opening 2-2 draw against Ash Gold.
And later, kill your speed before it kills you. This is a plea from the police to Ghanaians to be extra cautious and disciplined on our roads with just 12 days to the polls.
What we are pleading with the general public is even to be self-compliant with the law. Behave as if there's no policeman, because
we have that and more here in this package on the Midday News. I am Emefa Apawu. Do stay with us. We settle for the details now, and Ghana has added 10.7 billion Ghana cedis to its public debt stock in just 4 months, from July 2020 to November 2020. Government has generally attributed the persistent increment to the COVID-19 pandemic. Ghana's total public debt stock has seen a sharp surge within a span of 11 months, from 204.6 billion Ghana cedis in January 2020 to a whopping 273 billion Ghana cedis in November 2020. But how did we accumulate these debts? There's more in the following report.
Before the COVID-19 pandemic, Ghana's total public debt stock stood at 204.6 billion Ghana cedis. By March ending, the country's debt stock had increased by 31.5 billion Ghana cedis. Between January 2020 and July 2020, Ghana's debt shot up by 28.5%, pegging the country's debt stock at 263 billion Ghana cedis in July. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund had expressed worry about the nation's rising debt levels, saying it poses challenges to the fiscal economy. What this means is that if the debt levels are not checked, it will get to a stage where the nation might struggle to settle interest payments, particularly when the cedi begins losing grounds against the US dollar. In that case, you will need more dollars to settle the loans. Ratings agencies Fitch and Standard & Poor's have also expressed similar concerns, warning it could affect the nation's credit ratings. Well, Ghana is expected to pay about 24 billion Ghana cedis on interest payments for this year alone. This will be a little over 4 billion Ghana cedis, what was settled in 2019. Last year, interest payment cost the nation about 19.756 billion Ghana cedis on loans borrowed. Already, the IMF is forecasting the country is likely to hit 74% debt to GDP ratio in 2021, given the current 71% debt to GDP ratio as of November 2020.
Well, that's a report that we put together looking at how we accumulated these debts. Well, the increase in debt has some economists worried about the situation. Professor Peter Quartey concedes that although government has done in terms of supporting Ghanaians affected by COVID-19, some questions remain lingering. He spoke on the Super Morning Show.
We're not in alone. There are other countries in the same bracket. Because of the situation we find ourselves, because of COVID, there are COVID-related expenditures that has to be undertaken to revive the economy. In these times, you are not better off if you have decent debt to GDP ratio. When people are dying of COVID, when your hospitals are dying, when people don't have jobs, when businesses are collapsing. So you have to step in as a government.
Okay.
So we've also seen support to SMEs, for instance, the cap bus, for instance, that was used to support businesses. And I think, for me, the interest should be how these monies were disbursed, to whom were they disbursed, are they going to be invested to ensure that we grow the economy? Because debt itself is not a bad thing, but how you use it. If you are giving to businesses to revive their operations to generate growth, then that is fine. But if that is not the case, then that is where, for me, my interest would be. How have we spent this money?
That's Professor Peter Quartey. He's an economist speaking on the Super Morning Show earlier. So a number of questions have been raised. We've piled up 10.7 billion Ghana cedis to our public debt stock in just 4 months. Let's get some answers from government on this. Information Minister Kojo Oponkruma thankfully joins us here on the Midday News. Thank you so much, Mr. Oponkruma. So how are we explaining how we piled up 10.7 billion in just 4 months?
Emefa, good afternoon and good afternoon to your listeners. There are about three major reasons for which you see a change in the CD-denominated nominal debt stock, and that's what you are talking about. You are talking about the debt stock in CD terms, about three major reasons. The first is a drawdown on already existent loans. Loans as incurred as far back as about 5-10 years ago or within the last decade, some of which are still being drawn down even as we speak for major infrastructure projects across the country. Anytime $1, $10, $100, $1,000 is drawn down on any of those old loans, like the Tema and Pakadan railway line, like the Pokwase interchange, and like the other infrastructure projects that are ongoing, from old loans, it adds to the debt stock in current CD terms using the current exchange rate. The second is a change that you find in the CD-denominated debt stock based simply on the exchange rate. For example, $100 million that was incurred, let's say 5 years ago, at an exchange rate of 3.0. I'm just using this hypothetically. That same $100 million will no longer be 300 million cedis. It will now be 500 million cedis. That's a change of 200 million Ghana cedis without borrowing because the exchange rate has changed. And then you come to the third reason, that is the new borrowing. So Eurobonds and COVID-19 related expenses mostly will also now add, that is the new drawdowns on the new borrowing, will also now add to a change in the CD-denominated debt stock. So if you're observing a change in the CD-denominated debt stock, these will be the reasons. But as has been mentioned, I think by Professor Quartey, if I heard him well, Ghana is not the only country in a position like this because particularly as a result of what has happened this year, countries are having to borrow more to shore up their economies. And having decent ratios while people suffer is not necessarily the wise thing to do now. The important thing is that Ghana has a recovery plan and is actually doing better than its recovery plan to ensure that our debt does not become unsustainable.
Okay, so we heard him also say that borrowing in itself may not be bad by itself, but how we spend it. And then also in our report, we had the IMF, for instance, projecting that by 2021, we will have a debt to GDP ratio of 74%, amongst others, and the reactions that we're getting and knowing that we've piled up up to 273 billion Ghana cedis up to November 2020. Is government giving us enough justification that whatever it is that you're putting these monies into, it will be worth our while?
Part of the debt stock goes into infrastructure, which comes with productivity, as I've mentioned already. Part of it has to do with social protection programs, because today you must save lives before tomorrow you can worry about repaying. And then you would also find that part of it also deals with laying a certain ground program that ensures that there's higher productivity moving forward. But I think the devil is in the detail, as I've mentioned earlier. What is Ghana's recovery program? Ghana has put out a 4-year recovery program to get back to our levels of excellence in macro stability and growth that we're being applauded for. How are we performing on that program? The data from the Bank of Ghana's Composite Index of Economic Activity, I think if I've heard the Deputy Governor, Dr. Poku Afari, speak, they are quite clear. I think quite recently I heard the World Bank Country Director on your network speaking to George Weafe. All of them agree that Ghana is even performing better than our program for recovery. So if we stay on this path of performance relative to the program for recovery that this current administration is executing, we should get out of this blip on the radar very quickly.
Okay, I'm sure this particular issue will continue to generate a lot of talk, but you're staying with us, please, on our second issue. This time, the former Chief of Staff under President Rawlings, Nana Dazi, has raised red flags about the non-functional office of the Administrator General. He's warning this could spell doom for the country with just 12 days to election 2020. So the Presidential Transition Act 854 Clause 6, passed and assented in 2012, stipulates that the handing over notes from the presidency, ministers, departments and agencies should be presented to the Administrator General's office not less than 30 days before the date of the presidential election. And Atudazi, who is also a senior UN consultant on political transitions, says the appropriate thing must be done by the Akufo-Addo administration in accordance with the law, regardless of who wins the upcoming post. Let's listen to him.
The Presidential SS Unit has an obligation to undertake an inventory of the offices and buildings and the houses of the president, the vice president, all ministers, and those are appointees, 1 month before election. What is today? How many days have we left? Have we done that? Secondly, 1 month before election, all the MDAs, they have to submit their handing over notes. This will be forwarded to the presidency, and under the signature of the president, the handing over notes are submitted to the Administrator General at least 1 month before election. Where are we with that? These are the points of accountability. As we sit here, to the best of my knowledge, we don't have an Administrator General. My last check, the Administrator General had gone on retirement. To say that a transition is going to come does not mean that there's necessarily a change of government the other way. Either change of government or no change of government, there must be a transition. And it's also in the process stall the unnecessary acrimony between the parties.
That's Nana Dazi. He's a former chief of staff under the late President Rawlings' administration. And thankfully, the Information Minister, Kojo Oponkroma, is still with us. Thank you so much for staying with us, Mr. Oponkroma. So how do we explain how we do not have an Administrator General? What's really the situation with that office? Because we're told that David Yaro, who was the former Administrator General, has retired exactly a year ago, and there's no replacement for him.
So first, let me commend Nana Dazi for his advocacy on this matter. As a matter of fact, over 3 months ago, the Chief of Staff instructed all ministers to prepare and sign off their handing over notes and hand it over to the civil service structure for onward transmission. I'm aware that ministers have done so. I have done so, as have many of my other colleagues done so, signed it off, handed it over to our chief directors for onward transmission. I think it behoves on us to find out from the office of the Administrator General whether they are suggesting that they have not received it. Now, we should also be clear that the office of the Administrator General, to the best of my knowledge, is not a sole proprietorship. It's not a one-man business. So an individual may not be in the office, but the office, to the best of my understanding, still functions. And the office should be able to tell us if their suggestion is that they have not received these handing over notes that ministers have prepared and signed.
But I'm sure that you've taken a careful look at the act in itself. And of course, it might not be a sole proprietorship, but we need an Administrator General in place, and as well as a presidential asset unit, for instance. So that's what we're asking, that if Mr. David Yaro has been replaced, of course, the office may be functioning, but do we have an Administrator General as we speak?
I'm not aware of his replacement as an individual. I am aware that the office remains an office that is functioning. If, like I mentioned, it is a suggestion from the office that it has not received all of these transmissions, that would be an interesting matter to interrogate. But to the best of my knowledge, the Chief of Staff some months ago instructed all ministers to prepare sign-off handing over notes, which we have done. I have done mine. I know my colleagues have done theirs. And the civil service structure is seized with same for transmission.
So you're confirming that every appointee of President Akufo-Addo, ministries, departments and agencies and the presidency itself has submitted handing over notes a month before the elections to the Office of the Administrator General.
I have said that I'm not aware of anybody who has not done so. I am aware of the instruction. I'm aware of the compliance. If the Office of the Administrator General is suggesting that it has not received it, it should be able to say so for us to interrogate further.
Mr. Oponkrima, we are grateful. Of course, my colleagues are on the ground checking at the Office of the Administrator General the status of that office and if it's functioning at all, because Nana Tadazi had raised concerns about the non-functional nature of that office. We'll bring you more on that in our subsequent bulletin. This is the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Time to get into the election headquarters. And this is your election headquarters, brought to you by Petrosol, clean fuel, full quantity. Dancehall reggae artist Samini thrilling supporters of the new patriotic party in Ablekuma West constituency earlier today when he joined President Akufo-Addo on day 2 of his Greater Accra regional tour. There, the president unveiled a statue of the first MP for the constituency, Teresa Amele Tego, the famous danceman runabout who died 10 years ago.
Amele Tego was a politician of the first rank. She founded the women's wing of the NPP. And she was a vibrant member of the New Patriotic Party right until her untimely death. She served President Kufuor's government with zeal and enthusiasm. And it's all that we remember. Remember a woman who was determined to break through the ceiling and the glass barrier and make it clear that women had as strong a contribution to make to the public life of our country as any man. And I'm very happy that this woman that I've known since I was a young boy, we met at the University of Ghana very, very long time ago. She helped me with one or two women friends of hers when we were at Lagos. So she always had a soft spot in my heart.
Well, Presidential Affairs correspondent Elton Brobe is with President Akufo-Addo's team and he joins us live. So, Elton, Madame Amele Tego was known to be very vocal on the floor of Parliament, as I'll recall. But for those who may not have seen pictures of that statue, describe to us how it looks and how people have been reacting to it.
So, the statue is yellow in color and located right in the middle of the Danceman roundabout. And like you rightly said, her claim to fame can be traced back to the December 1999 when she led protests against the team's governing action over the murder of countless women in the Greater Accra region. For the people in this constituency, her uncompromising nature earned her the name Iron Lady, and beyond the fact that she was a member of parliament for the area, she was also instrumental in a lot of things, including touching the lives of people positively. And that can be so happy that government has found it necessary to honor her in the manner that President Akufo-Addo did this afternoon.
Well, yesterday, the Obeche-Bilamte interchange was commissioned. We understand the president is also expected to commission phase 1 of the Pokwasi interchange as well today, correct?
Exactly, and it's part of the program for today. So for me, we are currently at Aboboleshi Market where it's about to speak to the market folks here. When it's done, the next protocol will be the Pokwasi interchange, which is undergoing construction. But I'm told that the first phase is done already to open to traffic, and the president of Akufo-Addo, together with the roads minister, are expected to commission it and allow traffic to flow. Later this evening, we meet with church leaders to assure them of his commitment to ensuring peace and incident-free election come December 7th.
Presidential Affairs correspondent Elton Brobe to the camp of the NDC now here on the election headquarters. And presidential candidate John Mahama ended his tour of the Upper East region with an overnight campaign, traveling to hard-to-reach areas in the last-minute bid to woo electorates in that area. John Mahama and his campaign team left their hotel 10 a.m. on Tuesday and returned at 5:30 a.m. Wednesday morning. Masola Gbagba was with the team and reports how some supporters of the party slept at public parks as they waited for his visit.
The NDC presidential candidate has been moving to various constituencies. As we speak right now, he's in Paga. He's about to greet the chief of Paga, but the main Navrongo to Paga road. Now, this road, there's a traffic situation on this stretch because many NDC supporters have gathered here, all of them waiting to hear John Mahama speak at the Paga Chiefs Palace. A lot of them are waiting, some of them on motorbikes. So they have caused some kind of a traffic situation here. How would be the Member of Parliament for Baku Central, Mahama Yariga?
He is being received everywhere enthusiastically. You can see the energy. The young people are yearning for the second coming of John Dramani Mahama as president. I mean, they are listening. He's taking his time to deliver the message and the focus on continuing on the infrastructure development and providing job opportunities for the young people.
Now, Maxwell Agbagba is with the team. He joins us on the line. Maxwell, it appears there's no rest for the NDC presidential candidate. We're told he's moving to the Northeast region today. Tell us more.
Exactly, Emefa. There's no rest for him. In about an hour, will be in the Northeast region. Judging from what we've seen in other areas that we visited, like the Ashanti region and the Upper East region, he is expected to tailor his message and response to the needs of the people. We will be in the Northeast region for free and later move to the Northern region.
That's my colleague Maxwell Agbagba there, bringing us up to speed on what the NDC's presidential candidate has been up to. This is the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. We'll return to the election headquarters, which is brought to you by Petrosol. But our top stories: economists have been questioning government expenditure as Ghana adds nearly 11 billion Ghana cedis to its debt stock in 4 months. We've also heard from a former chief of staff who is raising red flags about the non-functional office of Ghana's Administrator General as we approach election 2020. When we return, we have sports and then also kill your speed before it kills you, a caution from the police to Ghanaians.
What we are pleading with the general public is even to be self-compliant with the law. Behave as if there's no policeman, because
dear, we're going to make every moment special. Whether it's I see you, people. There's more than enough drama series to bond over. There is something to keep you.
What are we doing today, man?
Endlessly entertained. You won't miss the action between.
Nobody will be better. Ronaldo or Messi.
We're not going to rescue you from Auntie's questions. So
you said when you dey marry now.
That will give you ideas. Choose DSTV this holiday season and make it your moment for only 45 Ghana cedis per month. DSTV, it's your moment.
Fellow Ghanaians, the stakes are high for our country this December. Don't stay home.
Remember, this election is about your future. Which of the candidates would you trust with managing our economy better? Which leader can give us free SHS and enhance the education of our children? Who can you trust to protect us during dark periods such as COVID-19? Who has the competence to protect our economy, build roads and dams?
Do you remember the dark periods of Doomsaw, Create, Loot and Share Brigade?
This December, remember we cannot afford the risk. Let's vote for Nana Akufo-Addo and the NPP to protect our progress.
UDS Faculty of Education, in partnership with NORSAC and Oxfam, is inviting the general public to participate in the 2020 National Political Parties Debate on Education Policy in Ghana. Date is Wednesday, 25th of November, 2020. Time is from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Venue is the UDS Multipurpose Auditorium, Tamale. This program will be live on Joy News, Joy FM, and also on social media. The invited political parties are CPP, NDC, NPP, and PNC. Participants are expected to be seated by 7 p.m. All COVID-19 protocols will be observed.
This is the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Times for sport with Hans Mensando.
Hi, Emefa. And Heart of Oak winger Patrick Razak believes the Phobians will bounce back stronger after their thrilling season opener against Ashgold. The Phobians had 2 goals cancelled out by Hans Kofi in each half in a 2-2 draw at the Accra Sports Stadium. Patrick Razak there after their thrilling 2-0 draw against Ashanti Gold. Their UEFA Champions League matches tonight, but unfortunately live commentary will have to make way for the 2020 National Political Parties debate. That's the education policy in Ghana takes place at 8 p.m. here on Joy 99.7 FM. That's your sports.
But however, we bring you updates on that Champions League game on our social media platforms as well. Thank you very much, Hans. Now, opposition NDC says the Electoral Commission does not have what it takes to declare results of the 2020 December polls after 24 hours, describing the move as impossible. The party is warning any such attempt by the Commission will produce unrealistic results. Director of Elections of the NDC, Elvis Ifiankra, has been addressing the media a while ago.
We need accurate results that reflect what the people have voted for, not any churn out results based on any 24-hour pressure. It's completely unacceptable. Madame J. Mensah is running the EC like an IEA, a one-woman NGO, where she did whatever she liked. This is about the state of Ghana. This is about our democracy. This is about the stability of the state. This is about an election. It's not about your whims and caprices. You don't.
Kwesi Pakawo is at that press conference. He joins us with more. So we've heard the NDC also talk about setting up a citizens arrest task force to collaborate with a genuine security operative. Tell us more about it.
Right, so Emefa, this is coming on the back of what Jeffrey Ankara says is the government failure to implement the report by the Iowa of West One, a commission. Now, he said that even the commission recommended that the guy who slapped the member of parliament for Ningo Pam Sam George, should be punished and prosecuted. That hasn't happened. So based on that, they don't want any surprises going forward into this election. So they have put together a team to partner the security personnel who will be deployed to monitor the election so that any individuals who perhaps may come to the voting center on that day to foment trouble or probably steal ballot boxes, those individuals who have been put together as a citizen team will quickly move into arrest these persons who come into foment trouble. So that is what they have decided to do going forward.
That's my colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson. Now, Bono East is one of the newly created regions which will shape election result discussions. With 120 hotspots, police say violent crime has drastically reduced and campaigns have been peaceful. Let's head to the region for Safety for My Vote.
We usually have security issues during elections, so we need to strengthen our security to save the situation.
Armed robbers and boys now
armed robbers and thieves are all over the market. Sometimes you find dead bodies in the market
too. Security issues for
us here in Techiman, armed robbery, especially on the routes, is on the rise. DCOP Asumadu Ochri Dakun is the acting Bono East Regional Commander.
The current security situation is a mixed one because on one hand, other crimes like kidnappings and murders, the numerous chieftaincy clashes have gone down. Robberies are not going the way we want it to be.
On political violence, DCOP Ochidakun tells me that though the region is relatively peaceful, the police has been able to identify over 120 flashpoints across the 11 constituencies of the region.
I think I can say that we have had a very peaceful campaign period. The flashpoints numbers keep changing, but I can tell you we have around about 120 now.
From the Bono East Regional Capital here in Techiman, my name is Anas Sabit for Joy News.
Now, for our Arrival Live campaign this afternoon, we hear from the Ashanti Regional Motor Transport and Traffic Directorate Boss, Superintendent Emmanuel Edubuahin. He has a simple message: kill your speed before it kills you.
What we are pleading with the general public is even to be self-compliant with the law. Behave as if there's no policeman. because you cannot get policemen from, with the greatest of respect, from Accra to Paga. Please, if a pedestrian, we know that the pedestrian crossings that are provided in town are not all that much, but the little that we have, let us make good use of them. Don't cross anywhere or anyhow.
Arrival Live is brought to you by the National Road Safety Authority with support from Toyota Ghana, Logistic Movers, and the Joy News Drive Safe campaign. And that's it for the Midday News. I am Emefa Apawu. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Habits Part 4 with Pastor Menso Tabil up next.